You'll make room for your sister. That was the text I got from my mom 3 days after I closed on my beachfront condo in Charleston, South Carolina. Not a congratulations. Not even a single acknowledgement that I had worked myself to exhaustion for nearly a decade to afford this place. Just a command. An expectation that my space, my money, and my life were automatically available for my younger sister Chloe. I stared at the message, sitting on the bare living room floor of my new home, surrounded by unpacked boxes and the smell of fresh paint. The floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Atlantic Ocean in shades of gray and blue, waves rolling in with a rhythm that should have calmed me. But all I felt was the familiar tightness in my chest, the one that came every time my family reminded me where I stood in their priorities. My name is Dorothy. I am 31 years old. I work as a purchasing manager for Driftline Construction, a mid-sized commercial building company. It is not glamorous. It is spreadsheets and vendor negotiations and inventory audits. But it pays well, and I am good at it. Good enough to save aggressively for 6 years while living in a cramped studio apartment with a leaky faucet and neighbors who screamed through the walls at 2 a.m. Good enough to finally buy this place. Cash offer. No mortgage. No one to answer to. Except, apparently, my mother still thought otherwise. I typed back a single word. Okay. I did not mean it. But I had learned long ago that arguing with my mom over text was pointless. She would twist my words, call me selfish, remind me that family was supposed to help each other. She would make me feel small, the way she always had. So I said okay. And I let her think I agreed, because something inside me had finally snapped, and I knew exactly what I was going to do. Growing up, I was the responsible one, the one who got a part-time job at 16 to pay for my own school supplies and gas money, the one who took out student loans and worked nights at a campus library to graduate debt-free by 25. My parents did not help. They said I needed to learn independence. They said struggle built character. Meanwhile, Chloe got her college tuition paid in full. She got a car for her 18th birthday. She got rent money whenever she called home crying about not being able to afford her apartment in Raleigh. She was 27 now, and as far as I could tell, she had never held a job for longer than 8 months. She quit when things got hard. She moved back home when she ran out of money. And my parents let her, every single time, because she was the baby. And they could not stand to see her struggle. I was expected to struggle. That was my role. And when I succeeded despite them, they treated it like luck. Like I had stumbled into this condo by accident, rather than sacrificing weekends and vacations and any semblance of a social life to make it happen. The text from my mom was not a request. It was a test. She wanted to see if I would push back, if I would dare to say no to Chloe, who apparently needed a place to stay because her latest roommate situation had fallen apart. My mom did not ask what had happened. She did not suggest Chloe move back home with them. She just assumed I would make room. I looked around my empty condo. 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, an open kitchen with granite countertops I had dreamed about for years. The second bedroom was supposed to be my office. I had already ordered a desk. I had plans to paint the walls a soft sage green. I was going to hang the art prints I had been collecting for years, the ones that had stayed in storage, because my old apartment had no space for beauty. Now my mom wanted me to give that room to Chloe. And I knew exactly how it would go. Chloe would move in with promises to pay rent, to keep the place clean, to stay out of my way. And within a month, there would be dishes piled in the sink. Her friends would show up unannounced. She would complain that the condo was too quiet, too far from the city, too boring. She would make me feel like a guest in my own home, the way she always made me feel like an outsider in my own family. But this time, I was not going to let it happen. I stood up, brushed the dust off my jeans, and walked to the window. The ocean stretched out endlessly, and for the first time in years, I felt something close to clarity. I had spent my entire life trying to earn my family's respect, trying to prove I was just as worthy of love and support as Chloe. And I had finally realized the truth. I was never going to get it. Not because I was not good enough, but because they had already decided who mattered more. So I was done trying. I picked up my phone and started making calls. The next morning, I contacted a property management company that specialized in short-term and long-term rentals. I explained my situation carefully, without mentioning my family. I told them I owned a 2-bedroom beachfront condo and wanted to rent out the 2nd bedroom in the den, which had a pull-out sofa and could serve as a 3rd sleeping area. I wanted reliable tenants, people who would pay on time and respect the space. The agent, a woman named Beverly with a brisk, no-nonsense tone, said she could have the rooms listed by the end of the week. She suggested pricing them competitively to attract young professionals or remote workers who wanted a quiet place near the ocean. I agreed. I signed the paperwork. I did not tell my mom. Instead, I spent the next few days unpacking and setting up my own bedroom. I bought blackout curtains and a new mattress. I hung my favorite painting above the bed, a watercolor of a lighthouse I had picked up at a street fair years ago. I arranged my books on the shelves and set up my coffee maker in the kitchen. I made the condo feel like mine, because it was mine, and I was not going to let anyone take that away from me. My mom called twice. I let it go to voicemail. She texted asking when Chloe could move in. I replied, "Still getting things ready. We'll let you know." It was not a lie. I was getting things ready, just not in the way she expected. I thought a lot about my family during those days, about how, when I graduated college, my parents took Chloe out to dinner to celebrate, but told me they were too busy to drive up for my ceremony. About how, when I got promoted to purchasing manager 2 years ago, my mom said, "That is nice, honey," and then immediately started talking about Chloe's new boyfriend. About how, when I told them I was buying a place at the beach, my dad said, "Be careful with your money. Real estate is risky." They did not believe in me. They never had. And I had spent years trying to change their minds, working harder, achieving more, hoping that one day they would look at me the way they looked at Chloe, with pride and affection and unconditional support. But it was never going to happen. Because the problem was not me. The problem was that they had decided long ago that I was the strong one, the one who did not need help, and Chloe was the fragile one, the one who deserved protection. And nothing I did was going to change that narrative. So I stopped trying. Beverly called on Thursday. She had found 2 tenants. The first was a man named Gregory, a software engineer in his early 30s who worked remotely and wanted a quiet place to focus. The second was a woman named Fiona, a freelance graphic designer in her late 20s, who had just moved to Charleston and needed temporary housing while she looked for a permanent place. Both had excellent references. Both were willing to sign 6-month leases. Both were ready to move in by the weekend. I said yes. I met Gregory first. He was polite, soft-spoken, and clearly just wanted a place to work and sleep. He barely looked at the ocean view. He asked about the Wi-Fi speed and whether he could set up a second monitor in his room. I liked him immediately. Fiona arrived the next day with a carload of art supplies and a friendly, easygoing energy. She complimented the condo, asked if she could hang a few prints in her room, and offered to cook dinner sometime as a thank you. She reminded me of the kind of person I might have been friends with in college, if I had not been too busy working to have friends. By Saturday, both of them had moved in. Gregory took the 2nd bedroom. Fiona took the den, which she immediately transformed into a cozy little studio with string lights and a small easel. The condo felt full, but not in a bad way. It felt alive. And then my mom texted, "Chloe is packing. We'll be there tomorrow at noon." I read the message 3 times. I felt my heartbeat quicken, not with anxiety, but with anticipation, because I knew exactly what was about to happen, and I was ready. I texted back, "See you then." That night, I could not sleep. Not because I was nervous, but because I kept replaying the moment in my head. The moment when my mom and Chloe would walk through the door with their suitcases, expecting me to roll over and accommodate them the way I always had. The moment when they would realize I was not that person anymore. I thought about all the times I had swallowed my anger, bitten my tongue, nodded along when they dismissed my feelings. I thought about the years I had spent trying to be good enough, only to realize that good enough was never going to be enough for them. And I thought about how, tomorrow, I was finally going to stand up for myself. Not with yelling or confrontation, but with boundaries. With proof that I had built a life they could not control. I got out of bed and walked to the window. The moon was bright, casting silver light across the water. I pressed my hand against the glass and whispered to myself, "This is mine." Tomorrow my family would learn that too. They arrived at noon, just like my mom said they would. I watched from the window as my mom's SUV pulled into the driveway, the back seats crammed with suitcases and boxes. Chloe got out first, wearing oversized sunglasses and a sundress, looking like she was arriving at a resort rather than moving into her sister's home uninvited. My mom followed, her expression already set in that familiar look of determination. She was a small woman, barely 5 feet tall, but she carried herself like she owned every room she walked into. My dad was not with them. He never was, when it came to family conflicts. He let my mom handle everything, which meant he let my mom make all the decisions, and I had learned to resent him for it. I opened the door before they could knock. "Hi, Mom. Hi, Chloe." My mom smiled, but it did not reach her eyes. "Dorothy, sweetie, this place is gorgeous. I knew you would do well for yourself." Chloe breezed past me without a word, already scanning the condo like she was shopping for furniture. She dropped her purse on the kitchen counter and said, "Where's my room?" I stayed calm. "We need to talk first." My mom waved a hand dismissively. "We can talk later. Let's get Chloe settled first. She has had a rough week." I said we need to talk first. My mom stopped. She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw the flicker of surprise in her eyes. I had never used that tone with her before. "Dorothy, what is this about?" "This is about the fact that you did not ask if Chloe could move in. You told me she was moving in." Chloe turned around, arms crossed. "Mom said it was fine. Mom does not live here. I do." My mom's face hardened. "Dorothy, we are family. Family helps each other. You have the space, and Chloe needs a place to stay. I do not understand why you are making this difficult." I wanted to scream. I wanted to list every single time they had made things difficult for me. Every time they had chosen Chloe over me. Every time they had treated my accomplishments like footnotes and her failures like tragedies. But I did not. Because I knew it would not matter. They would not hear me. They never did. Instead, I said, "You are right. We are family. But that does not mean you get to make decisions about my life without asking me first." Chloe rolled her eyes. "Oh my God, Dorothy. Stop being so dramatic. It is just a room. It is my room. In my home. That I bought. And we are so proud of you for that," my mom said, her voice dripping with false warmth. "But right now, Chloe needs help, and you are in a position to provide it. That is what family does." I looked at my mom, and I felt something shift inside me. Because I realized, in that moment, that she genuinely believed what she was saying. She genuinely thought that I owed them this, that my success was not really mine, but something that should be shared with the family, meaning Chloe. She thought my hard work, my sacrifices, my years of saving and planning were just resources for her to allocate as she saw fit. And I was done letting her think that. "Chloe," I said, keeping my voice steady, "where exactly were you planning to sleep?" She shrugged. "The second bedroom, obviously. You do not need 2 bedrooms. And what about the den? What about it? Were you planning to use that too?" She laughed. "I mean, yeah, probably. It would be a good place to hang out. Why?" I did not answer. Instead, I walked to the second bedroom and opened the door. Gregory looked up from his laptop, startled. He was sitting at a small desk he had set up by the window, headphones around his neck. "Oh, hey, Dorothy. Everything okay?" My mom and Chloe appeared behind me, and I watched their faces change. "Who is that?" my mom asked, her voice sharp. "This is Gregory. He is renting the second bedroom." Chloe's mouth fell open. "What?" I closed the door and walked to the den. Fiona was sitting cross-legged on the pull-out sofa, sketching something in a notebook. She looked up and smiled. "Hey, Dorothy. Do you need something?" "No, just showing my family around." I turned to face my mom and Chloe. They were both staring at me like I had just set the house on fire. "You rented out the rooms," my mom said, her voice rising. "You knew Chloe was moving in, and you rented out the rooms?" "I rented them out before you told me Chloe was moving in, because this is my home, and I get to decide who lives here." Chloe's face turned red. "You did this on purpose." "I did this because I wanted reliable tenants who would respect my space and pay rent on time. We are your family, and that does not mean you get to treat me like a doormat." My mom stepped forward, her face tight with anger. "Dorothy, this is unacceptable. You are going to ask those people to leave, and you are going to make room for your sister." I looked at her, and I felt a strange sense of calm wash over me, because I realized that this was it. This was the moment I had been building toward, whether I knew it or not. This was the moment I stopped letting them control me. "No," I said simply. "I am not." For a long moment, no one spoke. Fiona and Gregory both stayed in their rooms, probably sensing the tension. My mom's hands were shaking, and Chloe looked like she was about to cry. "Then we will leave," my mom said coldly, "and you will regret this." I do not think I will. They turned and walked out, dragging their suitcases behind them. I watched them load the car, watched them drive away, and then I closed the door. And for the first time in years, I felt free. The hours after they left felt surreal. I stood in the middle of my living room, staring at the closed door, half expecting my mom to storm back in with reinforcements. But the door stayed shut. The condo stayed quiet, except for the faint sound of Gregory typing in his room and Fiona humming to herself in the den. I sat down on the couch and let out a breath I did not realize I had been holding. Fiona emerged a few minutes later, holding a mug of tea. She sat down beside me, careful not to intrude. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Yeah, I think so." "That looked intense." "It was." She did not push for details, which I appreciated. Instead, she said, "For what it is worth, I think you handled it really well. It takes guts to stand up to family like that." I looked at her surprised. "You think so?" "Absolutely. I have been there. My family can be a lot too. Sometimes you have to set boundaries, even if it feels terrible." Her words settled over me like a warm blanket. I realized that I had been so focused on how my family saw me that I had forgotten other people might see me differently. Fiona did not think I was selfish or ungrateful. She thought I was strong. I thanked her, and she went back to her room. Gregory poked his head out a few minutes later and asked if everything was okay. I told him it was. He nodded and disappeared again, and I felt a strange sense of gratitude for these two strangers who were giving me more respect in one afternoon than my family had given me in years. But the peace did not last long. My phone started buzzing around 4 p.m. First, a text from my mom. "I cannot believe you would treat your sister this way." Then another. "You have always been selfish, but this is a new low." Then a call, which I ignored. Then a text from Chloe. "I hope you are happy. I have nowhere to go because of you." I turned my phone off. I knew they would not stop. My mom was relentless when she felt wronged, and she was very good at making me feel guilty. But this time, I was not going to let her win. This time, I was going to hold my ground. The next morning, I turned my phone back on and found 37 messages. Most of them were from my mom, but there were a few from my dad, who had finally decided to weigh in. Your mother is very upset. You need to apologize and fix this. That was it. No acknowledgement of my side. No question about why I had rented out the rooms. Just an order to apologize and fix it. I deleted the message. I spent the rest of the day working from home, catching up on emails and vendor contracts. It felt good to focus on something concrete, something I could control. Around noon, Beverly from the property management company called to check in. "How are the tenants working out?" she asked. "Great. They are both really respectful." "Good. I am glad it is working out. And just so you know, I have had a couple more inquiries about the condo. If you ever decide to rent out additional space, let me know." I thanked her and hung up, feeling a small surge of pride. I had made the right decision. I knew I had. But that afternoon, my mom showed up again. I heard the knock and knew immediately who it was. I opened the door to find her standing there alone, her face drawn and tired. "Can I come in?" she asked. I hesitated, then stepped aside. She walked into the living room and looked around, taking in the space. She did not sit down. "I do not understand you, Dorothy," she said finally. "I raised you to care about family, to help when someone needs you, and you have turned your back on your own sister." "I have not turned my back on her. I just refused to let her move in without asking me first. She needed a place to stay, and there are a lot of places she could have gone. She could have moved back in with you and Dad. She could have found her own apartment. She could have asked one of her friends. But instead, you decided I should take care of it, without even consulting me." My mom's jaw tightened. "You have always been difficult, Dorothy. Even as a child, you were stubborn and independent. You never wanted help. You never wanted to be part of the family. That is not true." "It is true. You pushed us away. You acted like you were better than us because you worked hard and saved money. You made Chloe feel small." I stared at her, stunned. I made Chloe feel small. "Mom, you have spent my entire life telling me I was not good enough. You paid for her college and not mine. You bought her a car and told me to get a job. You celebrated her every move and barely acknowledged mine. And now you are mad because I finally set a boundary? We did what we thought was best. Chloe needed more support. You were always so capable. You did not need us." "Everyone needs support, Mom. I just learned to stop asking for it because you made it clear I was not going to get it." She looked at me, and for a moment, I thought I saw something crack in her expression, but then she straightened her shoulders and said, "If you do not make room for Chloe, you are going to regret it." Is that a threat? It is a fact. Family is all you have, Dorothy. One day, you are going to need us, and we will not be there. I walked to the door and opened it. Then I guess I will figure it out on my own. Like I always have. She left without another word. I closed the door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. I felt shaken, but also strangely steady. Because I had said what I needed to say, and I had not backed down. Later that evening, Fiona knocked on my door and asked if I wanted to join her for a walk on the beach. I said yes. We walked along the shore as the sun set, the sky turning shades of pink and orange. Fiona talked about her work, about the projects she was excited about, and I found myself relaxing for the first time in days. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Sure." "Do you think you made the right decision? With your family, I mean." I thought about it. "Yeah, I do." "Good. Because from where I am standing, you deserve to be happy. And it sounds like they were not helping with that." I smiled. "No, they were not." We walked in silence for a while, and I felt something shift inside me. I had spent so long trying to earn my family's approval that I had forgotten what it felt like to just exist, without constantly justifying myself. And it felt good. The week that followed was strange. My phone stayed quiet. My mom did not text. Chloe did not call. It was like they had decided to freeze me out, and part of me was relieved. But another part of me, the part that had spent 31 years trying to be good enough, felt hollow. I threw myself into work. Driftline construction was in the middle of a major project, a commercial complex downtown, and I spent long hours coordinating with suppliers and managing budgets. My boss, a gruff man named Walter, noticed. "You are putting in a lot of hours lately," he said one afternoon, stopping by my desk. "Just trying to stay on top of things." He nodded. "Well, it is appreciated. You are one of the best people I have got." The compliment caught me off guard. I mumbled a thank you, and he walked away, but his words stayed with me. Because I realized that at work, I was valued. I was respected. I was seen. And at home, with Fiona and Gregory, I was treated like an equal. Fiona invited me to watch movies with her in the evenings. Gregory asked if I wanted coffee when he made a pot. They were small gestures, but they meant everything. It made me realize how little I had been getting from my own family. On Friday, I got a call from my dad. I almost did not answer, but curiosity got the better of me. "Dorothy," he said when I picked up, "we need to talk." "About what?" "About your mother. She is not handling this well." "I am sorry to hear that. You need to apologize." I laughed, a short, bitter sound. "I need to apologize? For what exactly?" "For refusing to help your sister. For being selfish." "Dad, I am not being selfish. I am setting boundaries. There is a difference. Your mother does not see it that way. That is not my problem." There was a long pause. Then he said, "You have always been difficult, Dorothy. I do not know where you got that from. Maybe I got it from being ignored my whole life." He sighed. "I do not have time for this. Just call your mother and apologize. This whole thing is ridiculous." "No." "What?" I said no. I am not apologizing. I did not do anything wrong. He hung up. I set my phone down and stared at it, my hands shaking. I had never stood up to my dad like that before. I had never flat out refused him, and it felt terrifying and exhilarating at the same time. That night, Fiona knocked on my door again. She had a bottle of wine and 2 glasses. "Thought you might need this," she said. We sat on the balcony looking out at the ocean. The sound of the waves was soothing, and the wine helped take the edge off. "Can I tell you something?" Fiona said after a while. "Of course. I left my family 2 years ago. Not physically, but emotionally. I realized they were never going to accept me for who I am, and I was never going to be happy trying to be someone I am not. It was the hardest thing I have ever done, but it was also the best thing." "Do you regret it?" "Sometimes. I miss them. But I do not miss the way they made me feel." I nodded. "I get that." She smiled. "You are doing the right thing, Dorothy. I know it does not feel like it right now, but you are." Her words stayed with me long after she went to bed. The next morning, I got a text from Chloe. It was the first time she had reached out directly in over a week. "Can we talk?" I stared at the message, debating whether to respond. Finally, I typed back, "Okay." She called a few minutes later. "Hi," she said, her voice small. "Hi?" There was a long pause. Then she said, "I am sorry. I was not expecting that." "For what?" "For assuming I could just move in. For not asking. For letting Mom push you around." I did not know what to say. Chloe had never apologized to me before. Not for anything. "Are you serious?" I asked. "Yeah. I have been thinking a lot about what happened, and I realized I was being really entitled. You worked hard for that place, and I just expected you to hand it over. That was not fair." I felt a lump form in my throat. "Thank you for saying that. I mean it. And I am sorry Mom is being so awful. She can be really controlling." "Yeah, she can." There was another pause. Then Chloe said, "Do you think we can still have a relationship? Like, as sisters?" I thought about it. "I do not know. Maybe. But it would have to be different. I cannot keep being the one who sacrifices everything." "I understand. And I will try. I promise." We talked for a little while longer, and when we hung up, I felt lighter. I did not know if things with Chloe would ever be truly good, but at least there was a chance. My mom, on the other hand, was a different story. That afternoon, I got a text from her. "Chloe told me she apologized to you. I hope you are happy. You have turned her against me." I did not respond. Then another text. "You have always been ungrateful. I gave you everything, and this is how you repay me." I blocked her number. It felt drastic, but I knew I needed space. I needed time to figure out who I was without her voice in my head, telling me I was selfish and difficult and wrong. That evening, Gregory knocked on my door. He looked awkward, like he was not sure if he should say something. "Hey, I just wanted to say I think you are really brave," he said. "I overheard some of the stuff with your family, and I just wanted you to know I think you are handling it really well." I smiled. "Thank you, Gregory. That means a lot." He nodded and went back to his room, and I realized that I had accidentally created a little community here. Fiona, Gregory, and I were not family, but we were something. We were people who respected each other, who gave each other space, who showed up when it mattered. And that felt like enough. 2 weeks after my mom and Chloe had shown up with their suitcases, I finally felt like I could breathe. The condo had settled into a rhythm. Gregory worked during the day and played video games at night. Fiona painted and cooked elaborate meals that she insisted on sharing. And I worked, walked on the beach, and slowly started to feel like myself again. But then I got a call from my Aunt Rosemary, my mom's younger sister. "Dorothy, honey, I need to talk to you," she said, her voice warm but serious. "Hi, Aunt Rosemary. What is going on?" "Your mother called me. She is very upset about what happened with Chloe." I sighed. "Of course she is. She told me you refused to let Chloe move in and that you have been cruel to her. That is not what happened." "I did not think so. Your mother has a way of spinning things, but I wanted to hear your side." I told her everything. About the text, about the suitcases, about the tenants, about how my mom had never asked, only demanded, about how I had spent my whole life trying to earn their approval and finally realized I never would. Rosemary listened quietly, and when I finished, she said, "Good for you." I was surprised. "Really?" "Really. Your mother has always babied Chloe, and it has not done her any favors. And she has always been hard on you, which is not fair. You deserve to live your own life." "Thank you for saying that. I mean it. And Dorothy, if you ever need anything, you call me. Not your mother. Me." We talked for a while longer, and when we hung up, I felt a strange sense of relief. It was good to know that not everyone in my family thought I was terrible. But the peace did not last. That night, I got a call from Chloe. She was crying. "Dorothy, I do not know what to do," she said, her voice breaking. "What happened?" "Mom kicked me out." I froze. "What?" "She said if I was going to take your side, I could figure things out on my own. She told me to leave, and I do not have anywhere to go." My first instinct was to say she could stay with me. But I stopped myself, because I knew that if I let her in now, nothing would change. She would move in, and my mom would see it as a victory, and I would be right back where I started. Chloe, I am sorry, but I cannot let you move in. Why not? I apologized. I thought we were okay. We are okay, but that does not mean you can live with me. You need to figure this out on your own. But I do not have any money. I do not have anywhere to go. What about Dad? He said he is staying out of it. Of course he did. Chloe, I know this is hard, but you have options. You can find a roommate, you can get a job and save up for your own place. You can ask your friends for help, but you cannot keep depending on other people to solve your problems. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "You sound like Mom." That stung, but I did not take it back. Maybe that is not a bad thing, I said. Maybe Mom was right that you need to learn to stand on your own. She just went about it the wrong way. Chloe hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling like the worst person in the world, but I also knew I had done the right thing. Because if I kept rescuing Chloe, she would never learn to rescue herself. The next morning, I got a text from my mom. I had unblocked her number the night before, just in case Chloe needed to reach me. "You have destroyed this family. I hope you are proud of yourself." I did not respond. Instead, I called Aunt Rosemary. "She kicked Chloe out," I said. "I heard. Chloe called me this morning. Is she okay?" "She is staying with a friend for now. She is upset, but she will be fine. Your mother is just throwing a tantrum because she did not get her way." I feel terrible. Do not. You are not responsible for your mother's choices, or Chloe's, for that matter. We talked for a while, and Rosemary reassured me that I was doing the right thing. When we hung up, I felt a little better, but the guilt still lingered. That afternoon, Fiona found me sitting on the balcony, staring out at the ocean. "You okay?" she asked. "Not really." She sat down beside me. "Want to talk about it?" I told her everything, and she listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "You know what I think? I think you are doing something really important. You are teaching your family that you have limits, and that is scary for them, because they have never had to respect your limits before. But that does not mean you are wrong. It feels wrong. I know, but it is not." She was right. I knew she was right. But it was hard to believe it when every fiber of my being was screaming that I was being selfish and cruel. That night, I got a message from Chloe. "I got a job. Just part-time, but it is something. Thanks for not letting me move in." I think I needed the push. I stared at the message, tears streaming down my face, because I realized that maybe, just maybe, standing my ground had been the right thing to do. Not just for me, but for Chloe too. I texted back, "I am proud of you." She sent back a heart emoji. It was not much, but it was a start. Over the next few days, things began to settle. My mom stopped texting. Chloe checked in occasionally, updating me on her job and her new living situation. My dad sent a terse message saying he hoped I was happy, but I ignored it. And slowly, I started to feel like I was building something new. Not a relationship with my family, not the way it used to be, but something different, something healthier. Fiona and Gregory became my chosen family. We cooked dinners together, watched movies, and talked late into the night. They did not judge me. They did not make demands. They just accepted me, and that was enough. One evening, as we sat on the balcony watching the sunset, Fiona turned to me and said, "You know, I think you are one of the strongest people I have ever met." I smiled. "I do not feel strong." "You are. Trust me." And for the first time in a long time, I believed her. A month after my mom and Chloe had shown up with their suitcases, I received a call from Aunt Rosemary again. This time, she sounded worried. "Dorothy, I need to tell you something," she said. "Your mother has been talking to the rest of the family. She is telling everyone that you refused to help Chloe when she was homeless, and that you rented out rooms just to spite her." I felt my stomach drop. That is not what happened. I know, but she is very convincing. Some of the family believes her. What am I supposed to do? Nothing. Let them believe what they want. The people who matter will see the truth. I wanted to believe her, but it was hard, because I knew how my mom operated. She was good at playing the victim, at twisting the narrative until she came out looking like the hero and I came out looking like the villain. But I was done defending myself to people who had already made up their minds. A few days later, I got a message from my cousin Caitlin, who lived in Raleigh. We had been close as kids, but had drifted apart over the years. "Hey, Dorothy. I heard about what happened with Chloe. That was really harsh. I did not think you were that kind of person." I stared at the message, feeling a surge of anger. But I did not respond, because I knew that anything I said would be twisted and reported back to my mom. Instead, I called Aunt Rosemary again. "They are all turning on me," I said, my voice shaking. "Not all of them. Just the ones who do not know any better. It feels like all of them. I know. But Dorothy, you have to remember that you did nothing wrong. You set a boundary, and your mother did not like it. That is her problem, not yours. But what if she is right? What if I am selfish?" "You are not selfish. You are self-preserving. There is a difference." I hung up feeling a little better, but the doubt lingered. Because no matter how many times people told me I was right, a part of me still wondered if I was the villain in this story. That evening, Fiona found me crying in the kitchen. She did not say anything. She just wrapped her arms around me and held me while I sobbed. "I hate this," I said. "I hate that she is making me look like the bad guy." "Let her," Fiona said. "People who matter will see the truth, and people who do not matter, their opinions do not count." "But they are my family." "Family is not just blood, Dorothy. Family is the people who show up for you, who respect you, who love you without conditions. And from what I can see, your mom and most of your relatives do not fit that definition." Her words hit me hard, because she was right. My family had never shown up for me. Not when I graduated college, not when I got promoted, not when I bought this condo. They only showed up when they wanted something from me, and I was done giving. Over the next few weeks, I started to build a life that did not revolve around my family's approval. I joined a book club at the local library. I started going to yoga classes on Saturday mornings. I made friends with a woman named Peyton, who worked at the coffee shop down the street, and we started meeting for brunch every Sunday. I was creating a life that was mine, and it felt good. But my mom was not done. One evening, I got a call from my dad. "Your mother wants to meet with you," he said. "She thinks it is time you two talked." "I do not have anything to say to her." "Dorothy, she is your mother. You owe her a conversation." "I do not owe her anything." He sighed. "Fine, but do not come crying to me when you regret this." "I will not." I hung up and blocked his number too. It felt extreme. But I was tired of being made to feel guilty for standing up for myself. A few days later, I got a letter in the mail. It was from my mom, handwritten on flowery stationery. "Dorothy, I do not understand why you are being so cruel. I raised you to be kind and compassionate, and you have turned your back on your family. I hope one day you will realize what you have lost." I read the letter once, then tore it up and threw it away, because I had not lost anything. I had gained something. I had gained my freedom. That night, I sat on the balcony with Fiona and Gregory. watching the stars come out. We did not talk about my family. We talked about our dreams, our plans, our hopes for the future. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. 6 weeks after the initial confrontation, I received an unexpected email from Chloe. The subject line read, "I need to tell you something." I opened it cautiously, expecting another guilt trip or plea for help. But what I found was something entirely different. "Dorothy, I have been doing a lot of thinking, and I realized something. Mom has been manipulating both of us for years. She pitted us against each other so she could stay in control. And I am sorry I let her do that. I am sorry I took advantage of you. I am working on being better, and I wanted you to know that. I also wanted you to know that Mom has been telling people you are a horrible person, and I told her to stop. She did not listen, so I stopped talking to her too. I hope we can rebuild our relationship someday. Love, Chloe." I read the email 3 times, tears streaming down my face, because I realized that Chloe had finally seen what I had been seeing all along. Our mom had been the problem, not us. I wrote back, "Thank you for saying that. I am proud of you for standing up to her. Let us take things slow, but I would like to rebuild too." Over the next few weeks, Chloe and I started texting regularly. She told me about her new job, a receptionist position at a dental office. She told me about the apartment she was sharing with 2 roommates. She told me about the therapy she had started and how it was helping her see things more clearly. And I told her about my life, about Fiona and Gregory, about the book club and yoga classes, about the peace I had found in my condo by the ocean. It was not perfect. There were still moments of tension, moments when old patterns tried to resurface. But we were both trying, and that was enough. Meanwhile, my mom was spiraling. Aunt Rosemary called to tell me that my mom had started a smear campaign against me on social media. She had posted on her personal account about how I had abandoned my sister and refused to help my family in their time of need. "She is making you look terrible," Rosemary said. "But Dorothy, anyone who knows you knows it is not true." Should I respond? No. Let her rant. She's only making herself look bad. I took her advice and stayed silent. And slowly, people started to see through my mom's lies. One of my cousins, Julia, reached out to me privately. "Hey, Dorothy, I just wanted to say I am sorry for believing your mom. I talked to Chloe, and she told me what really happened. You were right to set boundaries, and I am sorry I did not see that sooner." I thanked her, and over the next few weeks, more family members reached out with similar apologies. Not all of them, but enough to make me feel like I was not completely alone. My mom, on the other hand, was losing allies. Her constant complaints and dramatic posts were alienating people, and slowly, the family began to see her for what she really was: controlling, manipulative, and unable to accept responsibility for her own actions. Aunt Rosemary told me that my mom had even lost some of her closest friends because of her behavior. "She is burning bridges left and right," Rosemary said. "And honestly, I think she is finally starting to realize that she cannot control everyone the way she used to. Do you think she will ever apologize?" "I do not know. But I do not think you should wait for it. You have built a good life without her, Dorothy. Do not let her take that away from you." She was right. I had built a good life, and I was not going to let my mom's drama ruin it. One evening, as I was walking on the beach, I ran into Peyton, the woman from the coffee shop. We had become good friends over the past few weeks, and she had been a constant source of support. "How are you doing?" she asked. "Better," I said. "A lot better, actually." "Good. You deserve to be happy." We walked along the shore, talking about everything and nothing, and as the sun set over the ocean, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for the life I had built. I had lost my family, or at least the version of my family I had always wanted, but I had gained something better: a sense of peace, a community of people who respected and valued me, and most importantly, a sense of self-worth that no one could take away. That night I sat on my balcony and looked out at the ocean. The waves rolled in, steady and unchanging, and I thought about how far I had come. I had stood up to my mom. I had set boundaries. I had built a life on my own terms. And I had survived. 3 months after the initial confrontation, I received a phone call from my dad. I had unblocked his number a few weeks earlier, mostly out of curiosity. "Dorothy, your mother is in the hospital," he said, his voice tight. My heart dropped. "What happened?" "She had a panic attack. The doctors think it is stress-related." "Is she okay?" "She will be fine. But she has been asking for you." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to rush to the hospital, to be the dutiful daughter and make everything okay. But another part of me, the part that had finally learned to protect myself, knew better. "I do not think that is a good idea," I said. "She is your mother, Dorothy. And she has spent the last 3 months telling everyone I am a terrible person. I am not going to put myself through that again." There was a long pause. Then my dad said, "You have really changed." "Yeah, I have." He hung up without saying goodbye. I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone. I felt guilty, but I also felt certain. Because I knew that if I went to the hospital, my mom would use it as an opportunity to guilt me into apologizing, into giving in, into going back to the way things were. And I was not going to do that. Instead, I called Aunt Rosemary. "I heard about your mom," she said before I could say anything. "You do not have to go, Dorothy. You do not owe her that." "I feel terrible." "I know, but you have to take care of yourself first. Your mom is going to be fine. She is just having a hard time accepting that she does not have control over you anymore. Do you think she will ever change? I do not know, but that is not your responsibility." We talked for a while longer, and when we hung up, I felt a little better. Over the next few days, I got updates from Aunt Rosemary. My mom was released from the hospital and was back home. She was still upset, but she was physically fine. And I was okay with not being there, because I had learned that I could not set myself on fire to keep other people warm. I could not sacrifice my peace to make my mom feel better. I had spent my whole life trying to earn her approval, and I had finally realized that I was never going to get it. Not because I was not good enough, but because she did not want to give it. And that was okay. A week later, Chloe called me. "I went to see Mom," she said. "How is she?" "Angry. She is still convinced you are the villain in all of this." I figured. But Dorothy, I told her the truth. I told her that she pushed you away, that she never respected you, that she treated you like you did not matter. And I told her that I was done letting her control my life. How did she react? She cried, and then she told me to leave. I am sorry, Chloe. I am not. I needed to say it. And honestly, I feel lighter now. We talked for a while, and I felt a deep sense of pride for my sister. She was finally standing up for herself, and it was beautiful to see. That evening, I sat on my balcony with Fiona and Gregory. We had developed a tradition of watching the sunset together, and it had become one of my favorite parts of the day. "You seem happier," Fiona said. "I am," I said. "I really am." "Good. You deserve it." We sat in comfortable silence, and I thought about how much my life had changed in just a few months. I had lost my family, but I had gained so much more. I had gained my freedom, my peace, my sense of self-worth. And I had gained a community of people who loved and respected me, not because I had earned it, but because I was worthy of it. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I thought about my mom. I thought about how she was probably sitting at home, angry and bitter, convinced that I was the one who had wronged her, and I felt sorry for her, because she would never understand what she had lost. But I was done trying to make her understand. I was done trying to earn her love. I was done sacrificing my happiness for hers. I was free. And as I sat there, surrounded by people who cared about me, I realized that this was what family was supposed to feel like. Not obligation, not guilt, not manipulation, but love, respect, support. And for the first time in my life, I had it. My mom never apologized. She continued to tell anyone who would listen that I was selfish and cruel. But over time, fewer and fewer people believed her. Chloe continued to build her own life, and we grew closer than we had ever been. My dad remained distant, choosing to stay loyal to my mom rather than face the truth. But I was okay with that, because I had learned that I did not need their approval to be happy. The months that followed were some of the best of my life. I continued to live in my beachfront condo, surrounded by people who valued me. I built a career I was proud of. I created a life that was entirely my own. Looking back on the day my mom texted me, "You'll make room for your sister?" I realized that it was the moment everything changed. It was the moment I finally chose myself. And I would never regret that.